Today, we will be working on the last part of a multi-part project where we will be analyzing and comparing violent crimes as they occurred in three different states during 3 different years. What I'm going to be showing you now is the previous PowerPoint presentation we made on this project consisted of 4 slides. So what I'm showing you now is the work that we're going to be doing today mode. So let me show you the presentation mode so you can see the slides and the presentation in its full glory. So as you notice, there was a transition and animation, or actually a transition between slides. The slide slowly faded in from the beginning until you see it now. On the second slide, we see a transition between slides where they slowly fade one into the other. On the third slide, the same effect in terms of transitions. And now here comes the fourth slide. In the fourth slide, notice that we have an animation in this slide. The animation, first we're going to show the title. Then we're going to show an animation where the explanation comes up floating in from the bottom. The last slide, what we see is an animation where each time we advance the slide, what we're going to see is each one of the elements comes up in a particular order. So the individual components of the chart are being displayed one by one. This last feature that I showed you where the individual components of the chart are coming up individually is part of a bonus that's included in this slide. Because it's a bonus, it's something that you will have to do a little bit of research. You can Google or find out how to do the individual component graphs. And if you do that successfully, you'll get a bonus point, but you don't have to do it to get the full value of this lab. The last slide is very similar in nature. We're going to have an animation where the 3 sections are going to come up individually. Here is that first chart where I mentioned that we have the state square miles, and as part of the bonus here, we're showing the graph components coming up individually. And here's the last chart where the graph components are coming in individually. As I mentioned before, this individual animation is a bonus. So this is what the slideshow looks like, and I think you're going to enjoy. Um, Before I leave the slideshow, I'd like to show it to you side by side. So on the left, you see the original slideshow that we're going to use as a basis to starting our lab. And on the right, you're going to see the new slideshow that we're creating that has all the enhancements and new features we're going to be adding to the slideshow. I think you'll have fun on this one. I hope you enjoy. So let's move on to today's lab. So in this lab, we're going to need 2 files from our previous labs. What you're looking at now is the PowerPoint presentations. We will also need the Excel file associated with this PowerPoint presentation. So let's start off with the PowerPoint presentation itself. Our first task will be to duplicate slides. So we're going to navigate to slide number 4, and we're going to duplicate this particular slide. What we do is we right click on, and remember that we're in the navigation section. I am going to right click on the slide and look for the duplicate command, duplicate slide, and here we have it. So now we have 2 identical slides, number 4, number 5. We want to make sure that we're working on slide number 4 and not slide number 5. And I'm going to delete the chart on the right hand side. So to do that, it's simple. Just click inside this chart, make sure that you're not selecting any of the chart elements, and simply press the delete key on the keyboard, and that deletes the chart. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to move the chart on the left hand side and move it to the right. And we're going to click once again inside the chart, making sure that we don't select any of the chart elements. Now what we're going to do is right click and look for the cut command and go to the right side, right click and choose the paste command. Now we have the slide that was formerly on the left now is on the right. On the left content area that we have, it's now empty. What we're going to write is some text in the form of bullets to describe what is on the right. So I've entered some text, and what I would like you to do is put 4 or 5 bullet points on the left that explains to what is it that we're looking at on the chart on the right. So you may want to put some comments in terms of the three states, the 3 years, also the comparison on the size of the columns on each one of the states, which represents what is the number of total violent crimes of that state, and then compare possibly the size of one state versus the other, and also note that there seems to be some uniform pattern between the years within the same state. So in slide number 5, what we're going to do is we're going to delete the total crimes chart that's going to be on the left. What we have left it now is a chart that's comparing the number of crimes per square mile for each one of the 3 states. On the left side, we're going to enter some bullets to explain what is the chart about on the right. So now I've added some text used for guidance, the instructions for this lab, the written instructions for this lab. So the next thing, what we're going to do is adjust the content area. Remember that this is a 2 content slide, so we're going to adjust the content area so it's approximately half the size of the chart on the right. So I'm just going to drag it a little bit. So this is one of the reasons why you don't want to put a lot of text in here or a lot of bullets, because we're going to use this space for another chart. So now what we have is like 3 regions in this slide. We have one where we have the comparison of states, comparison of crimes per square mile, some explanation to the chart on the right, and then on the bottom area we're going to put another chart where we're going to show the data for state sizes. And for that, we're going to use the Excel worksheet that we created for the previous lab. So, so here is the Excel worksheet from the previous lab, and I've navigated to the adjusted violent crime tab from that worksheet. And over here on the second table, we have a part of the table that we're interested, or part of the data that we're interested, which is the 3 states and the area per square mile from the 3 states. So I'm going to select this area, starting with this cell that has state on it and the area next to it. And I'm going to use this small area to create a new chart. So I'm going to insert a 3-dimensional column chart. So here's a 3-dimensional column chart to the right. I'm going to select the 3-dimensional column chart, and when you look at the lab instructions, we're going to make some changes. So here we have the changes that I've made. Make sure that you follow the documentation and the written instructions for the lab. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this chart, and I'm going to paste it into PowerPoint. So I'm going to right click on the chart and copy, and I'm going to go now to PowerPoint, and when I paste it, just grab the edge of it and move it under the bulleted area. So you will have to resize the chart so it fits under the bullets. If you have a lot of bullets, you're going to have make it somewhat smaller. Make the adjustments that you think are prudent so you have a well laid out chart. So I think this is pretty good the way it looks right now. We have the bullets explaining the charts. We have the chart that shows what is the area of each one of the states. And on the right, we have a chart now showing the crimes per square mile. Now we're going to enhance our presentation. One of the next enhancements we're going to do is to apply a theme. And what you're going to do now is go into the design. So I'm going to go ahead and select the drop-down list next to themes, and there's several themes here. Select one that you like. Select the theme that's pleasant to you. I'm going to select this one right here, but you're free to select any one that you want. So here's what my presentation looks like, and let's navigate to my presentation. And I haven't done anything with the first, second, or third slide, but on the fourth and the fifth, let's look what they look like. And things are looking pretty good. So let's look at what are the next enhancements we're going to do to our presentation. So what we're going to do is do transitions between the slides. So a transition is what happens between one slide and the other. If I show you the presentation that we have up to now, here's slide number one. If I move to slide number two and three and four, you see that the transition between one slide and the other is abrupt. So we're going to change that a little bit. And what we're going to do is select the transition between slides. And for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to the transitions. Before doing the transitions, I'm going to select all the slides because I want the similar kind of transitions between slides. You can also do different transitions between each one of the slides. I'll leave it up to you. So I'm going to um, make all of my transitions the same. So I clicked on the first one and I'm going to press the shift key on the keyboard and select the last one. So all the slides are selected. Then I'm going to go to transition and select the transition. And I'm going to go for a fade transition, which is nice and smooth. So let's look at the presentation. I'm going to navigate over to slide number one and I'm going to show the slides to show, see what it looks like. And you see that now as I move between slides, the presentation fades one slide into the other. It looks kind of nice. So the next thing that we're going to do is add slide notes. And slide notes, have you seen it in our presentations before, is notes that are used by the speaker. Or notes to the speaker, and you can also print them out for distribution. So I'm going to add a slide note under each one of the slides. To do that, so the first thing that you want to make sure is that the slide notes are being displayed, and to do that, go to the View tab, and under the View tab, you can select the tab for notes. So it's under the Show section, under the View, Show, and then select Notes, and that displays the notes area down here. I'm going to grab the edge of it and make it a little bit larger, and under each one of the slides I want you to enter notes. So an example of the first one may look something like this. Now I've entered some notes into my first slide. Make sure that you navigate to all the slides and add notes in the bottom. One or two sentences is good enough. The next enhancement that we're going to make is graphical. So let's navigate to slide number four. And what I want is on each one of these columns, I'm going to apply a state flag. So for Maryland, it will have the Maryland state flag. For Virginia, the Virginia state flag. For Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania state flag. Let's see how it's done. And click on the first column of a state. So click a few times and notice, make sure that a single column is selected, and you see these little dots around the column that are just selecting that particular column and none of the others. Make sure that only one column is selected. And once you do that, I'm going to right click on that column and I'm going to format the data point. And that's going to be just the data point. So over here on the right hand side, you have various choices. I'm going to choose the fill, and I'm going to click on fill, and what I want it to select is a picture or texture fill. And I'm going to go and select a picture. And the picture I want to select is from Online Pictures. And I'm going to search for the Maryland state flag. So I'm going to go on top here in the search area and I'm going to type Maryland. And I'm going to get various choices, and I want to look for something very simple. So here's one right here. And I'm going to insert it. And when I am inserting it, here we have Maryland state flag. So I want you to repeat the same thing for all of the Maryland flags. So now I've added flags to each one of the columns on each one of the charts on both slides 4 and 5. So it's a big difference from what we saw before. let's a little bit more interesting. So let's visit slide number 4. This slide number 4, we're going to work with animations. We haven't done that before. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to select. I'm just selecting the section with the bullets and not the chart. So I want to add some animation, and for that I'm going to go to the animation section on top here. So here's the animations, and I'm going to select an animation, and you can select any one you want. Now I'm going to do a float in for the area chart. So now I've added animations for slides 4 and 5. And so let's take a look at what the presentation looks like. I'm going to go back to slide number 1 and go to my presentation icon, and let's see what it looks like. Here I have a transition between the beginning and the first slide, and here comes the second slide coming along, the third one, fourth, and here I have different animations. So let's look at what the bonus is going to look like. So here we have slide number 4, and as you notice, it has a transition coming in, the transition we had applied before, and we have some animation. So we have the title coming up, and now as I click on the mouse, I'm going to have different areas float in or move in. And here's where the bonus comes in, where I have enable the animation so that the columns for each one of the elements in the chart, for each one of the states and for each one of the years, they come up individually. So this is the bonus part. If you can animate the slide from before so that we don't have so we have this individual columns coming up with the different slides. So we have the different columns come up as we press the mouse point, then we've achieved the bonus. So this is slide number 5, and we have the charts for the states, for the area of the states, and then here is the crimes per square mile. So that's all we have on this lab. This concludes this lab. I hope you enjoyed it. It had some fun. I think the last part, the bonus, is kind of a good puzzle that I hope you enjoy it and try to find it and have some fun with it. But you don't have to do it. So I look forward to your comments and catch you in class later on. Bye.